Facility operations and legal responsibilities. Common functions for facilities. When we look at the functions of sport facilities, it's broken down into categories, and most will fall under these categories of administration, sales and marketing, facility services and operations, fiscal management, which is also finance, and then leadership and management in general. This is an organizational flow chart that will show very general categories and department splits for a typical sports facility. Your general manager, your CEO, is the one who is leading, and then it's broken down into categories from there. The assistant general manager will oversee many of the department pieces: director of operations, finance, sales and marketing, public relations, event services, ticketing, and special events. In some cases there are more than these, in some cases there are less. There's also an office manager in there that runs the office, and then a scheduling person that would do a lot of the event scheduling, and that would fall under the general manager and CEO. Daily operational areas for a sporting event would be administration, which is taking care of all of the paperwork pieces, booking and event scheduling before events happen prior to, usually more than a year out. Booking is done for a facility for a site location, and event scheduling is done. The event management is on site of the actual event. Sales and marketing happens beforehand once the event is booked, and sales and marketing comes into force weeks to months ahead of schedule to be able to promote the event. Box office is there for ticket sales. Security is done in advance, so that is locked in. As your event grows, you would need to increase your security to accommodate the growth. Human resources is in charge of the staffing, whether that's volunteers or paid. Those folks would fall under the HR department. And then operations, general operations, the hands-on people that actually put the event together, do the manual labor with your fencing, flooring, and the actual event pieces that actually make the venue itself. Other areas are often subcontracted out. Food and beverage is usually a separate vendor. Merchandise, security, customer service, stage rigging, lighting, audio visual. Those are things that the general manager and CEO would have contracted out. And oftentimes it's people that they've worked with before and have a good relationship with. And if not, if it's a new vendor, it's most often a recommendation from another source who's used that vendor in the past. Job descriptions, standard procedure to identify position, responsibilities, communication, and daily operational tasks. There's just basic job descriptions for the folks that you're hiring. That could be from the general people who come in to do lower end tasks to those who are management level to upper executive levels. Facilities do adopt common models and then they adapt to personnel, facility size, multitasking, and the event requirements as needed. So many facilities that you'll see have adopted models from other facilities that are similar in size, similar in location, similar in product output. And that's better to use someone else's model than to reinvent the wheel. Based on facility and event needs, there are a variety of things that you can look at that you would have to manage and handle when we talk about operations. Volunteers are key, and those volunteers, when we talk about volunteers, sometimes are your lower end volunteers who just want to help out. Oftentimes they are your interns, college interns who are working for school credit, who have a vested interest, almost as a pass or fail for the course that they're taking. So there is some input there from you on their grade, which is really nice. It holds them accountable to good work performance. Technical services speaks for itself, making sure that your technical support is there. Development and funding. Oftentimes when you're running golf tournaments, there are funding requirements up to the event itself. Sponsorship and development are key to the success of golf tournaments. And oftentimes if it's golf tournaments that have charity attachment to it, there's a vested interest on the charity to help with that piece of it. Luxury seating is usually a person developed just for that role to be able to accommodate and sell luxury seats, but also to accommodate the clients that purchase those and to service them accordingly. Audiovisual production is a big key. In your screen, you'll see a professional basketball game. The audio visual for a professional arena is very high end, and those take usually an all-day setup before the event actually occurs in an evening game. So the audio-visual crew usually gets in the morning to set up for a 7:30 p.m. game. And then graphics and design. Those are the folks who would do the graphics on the display boards and also graphics and design in the marketing brochures leading up to the event itself. So what if a day in the life of a venue? These are actual events and things that have occurred during events, major sporting events, and some things to think of. I won't read everything off the list, but number one is heavy rains cause mud and damage from soil erosion. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you're working the X Games and you are doing the BMX biking event and your track is going to be closed down because it can't sustain bicycles, it's a big problem. So something that you would have to handle on the fly, and how would you handle it? Number four is generator fails. Usually when you're working events like this and something like that occurs, you'll have contractors that you need to reach, people who you need to contact to come in and follow through to make sure that it happens. And one thing to consider about all of these things is that most often you're on live television within 4 to 5 hours of the pre-check of the event. So live television goes on. How you make the event look really determines how well you can handle these scenarios. So number 6, TV decides a camera platform needs to be moved, and you have to manage getting that done and putting in a proper spot before live television goes live. Number 8, venue design elements get stolen or vandalized, and those are irreplaceable. So there's a scenario that is tricky, and how would you rearrange other signage to be able to accommodate the sponsor? Number 17, a press reporter starts an impromptu interview with an electrician, someone who's not authorized to speak on behalf of the event. Being able to manage that, talk it through with the reporter, and then talk it through with the electrician, making sure that everybody knows their role. Commentator positions lose power. During live television, I've seen it happen where lose power, microphone goes out, you immediately break to a commercial and try to scramble to fix the problem before you come back live. So these are all scenarios that have happened, and as a manager, how do you fix it? Facility operations and the function of the facility depends on you, and being able to run with it and fix it is really critical, and it shows great leadership, and that's something that good managers have. Lastly, we talk about legal responsibilities in sport law. Basic law is knowledge of local civil and federal codes, and really understanding legally, making sure you're in bounds of all of your paperwork and your permits. Critically important to functioning and running an event. Risk management really focuses on 2 major issues: identifying risk and eliminating or reducing the risk. And also risk management is generating new strategies to reduce potential lawsuits. We hear about lawsuits all the time, but how can you prevent those from occurring? And that's the term of risk management. It's all part of the evaluation process after your event and identifying areas where you can fix and improve upon, and that is risk management. Insurance is a must. It's not negotiable. All events, major sporting events, have insurance in a variety of different forms. Major liability insurance, there's all sorts of coverage. There's umbrella coverage for the facility, for the tenant, and for the participants and the customer. And that is an absolute must. Proof of that needs to be on hand as you begin to talk through with city government officials. They'll want that on file before the event even occurs. And then lastly, we talk about politics and how they play a major role in bringing an event to fruition, and even a facility and facility growth. Currently, we've talked and heard about the St. Louis Rams out of St. Louis. There's talks and negotiations occurring now in Inglewood, California, with the old Hollywood Park racetrack, and then potentially coming back to Los Angeles. That's the political move in there is that there's a group of people in Inglewood who have come to city council meetings and have rallied the community to get signage and signatures to bring the St. Louis Rams back to Los Angeles. So now, currently in Los Angeles, you'll see television interviews with people who are trying to rally around and get signage and also get city council members to come on board and support the idea and the notion of bringing back a professional sports team to Los Angeles. So politics play a very big role in sports facilities and facility operations in general.